This is the S1S Podcast, Episode 8.
The Stage 1 Startup Podcast is launching in T-minus 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, 0. Prepare for liftoff.
Welcome to the Stage 1 Startup Podcast for startups and aspiring entrepreneurs to find out what it takes to launch any business idea from stage 1 to success. Now, for your hosts, live from the UK, Nichols and Morley.
Hello and welcome to the Stage 1 Startup Podcast. You're tuned in right now with your hosts, Greg Nichols
And Brad Morley.
Brad, you know what I'm about to ask you, man. You know exactly what questions coming your way. How excited are you right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm at a 12 today.
A 12? Why a 12?
I'm at a 12
Why not 13? That's what I want to know.
because 13's a goddamn unlucky number.
That is a very...
Actually, it's not. Because I did actually pass my driving test on the 13th of April.
I thought you were going to say on the 13th time then, to be fair. I was a little bit...
13th time, I think I would have given up by then. We don't
no,
give
we
up.
don't give up, Brad. You know we
up.
don't give up.
But no, nobody else wanted to do it on the 13th, and I had already
You'd
failed
yeah.
3 times. So I thought, you know what? It can't get any worse. So I'm just going to go on 13th.
Well, at least you're in the free time club. I passed on my 3rd time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, there we go then.
There we go. Yeah.
So I'm at a 12 because we've actually got another podcast later on to record.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to save part of my energy so they are equal between each show.
Nice.
I'm at 12.
No, that's a good enough reason. What we're going to do right now is pass you over to my main man, Brad, who's going to give the lowdown on who you will be listening to for the next hour or so. Brad, I'm going to pass the mic over, my friend. Let everybody know.
So today, guys, we have the pleasure of interviewing 2 very ambitious ladies who'll be joining us all the way from Indianapolis.
Where even in the world is that? I know it's in the States, but I'm not quite sure where.
And I sort of said that as if I knew where it was,
You
joining
did.
us from Indianapolis.
You did sound pretty confident, like you knew that you'd been there or something like that.
It's the far east of America, okay?
Right, okay. I'm going to have to take your word for this one.
I think I just completely made that up.
Okay.
The 2 lovely ladies we have joining us are Miss Kristen Cooper and Shelley Klingerman. Kristen's the founder of the Startup Ladies. The Startup Ladies is an organisation that is there to identify, educate, connect, and increase the investment in women entrepreneurs that are looking to start up and scale a business of their own. They started out, you'll like this, Greg, from conversing in the ladies' room and sharing stories over a top-up on the lip gloss and an exchange in hairspray.
It's exactly how we met.
You know it. I remember that day. I remember that day when it was a windy-ass day and I needed some hairspray.
And I just hooked you up.
And you just hooked me up.
I was there.
That didn't actually happen.
No, it didn't. It didn't. It happened in the men's toilets instead.
So from that, they've managed to transform it into a hall full of investors, designers, developers, and other success-driven women. Kristen and her board members have created the Startup Ladies, a business that brings everything a startup needs, from the mentors to the community, to the workshops, to the investors, and she brings them all in one room. They do this by hosting monthly meetups and bi-monthly startup study halls. The monthly meetups allow attendees to build relationships with other experienced executives and those fellow budding entrepreneurs that are always there to help you strive for greatness.
Brad, I've actually got my hand up for a question. Are men allowed in this? Because I feel like this is something that we could definitely get into.
I knew this question
and we
was
need
coming.
it as well. I love this. I'm so excited for this episode. So are men allowed?
You know what? I'm going to make your day. Men are allowed.
Yes.
It is, but for both men and women. They are both invited to the events.
Cool.
The startup study halls, however, provide the structure, the consistency, and the accountability to focus on moving that idea forward. Through connecting with the best in business and building a community of startup ladies on the same wavelength, these guys have managed to get over 1,000 bums on seats and held over 50 events so far. That's pretty impressive.
No, that's impressive numbers.
So, without further ado, we're going to bring the 2 to the show to fill in those gaps and tell us all about the Startup Ladies and help you guys get your ideas from stage 1 to success. All the way from Indianapolis, we have the pleasure of interviewing Kristen Cooper and Shelley Klingerman of the Startup Ladies. So, ladies, please welcome yourself onto the show.
Yay! Thanks for having us.
Loving the vibe. So, guys, obviously we've given a bit of a brief intro there. So, can you give us a bit more on your background and warm us up for the show on what the Startup Ladies is?
The mission of the Startup Ladies is to identify, educate, connect, and increase investment in a diverse group of women that want to build scalable companies. And it all started 2 summers ago. So in August 2014, I had just made a major career transition. So I had been a nonprofit fundraiser for about 20 years and had decided to come work for a tech company by the name of Sticks and Leaves. And I think you know the co-founders, Gal Anning and Anthony Smith.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of interviewing them 2 episodes ago now.
Yeah, that was a good interview.
Awesome. So Yao and Anthony and I became really good friends, and we had become friends because I had tried to launch a tech product a couple of years before, and I worked with them on it. So I came to work for Sticks and Leaves, and we worked in a co-working space in greater Indianapolis. And what I noticed when I got there was there were about 500 members. Very few of the members were women, and you could count on one hand the number of women business owners. And having attempted a tech startup a few years prior, I was wondering, why were there so few women that were starting up scalable companies? And so when I got to the co-working space, I knew I wanted to meet as many people as possible. And in the ladies' room at the co-working space, the area where you wash your hands faced the door. And so I decided that I wanted to meet as many people as possible. And every time somebody came through the door, I introduced myself. And so that led to lots of awesome conversations in the ladies' room, just about life and family and eventually business. So one day I was negotiating a contract with one of the women that was working out of the co-working space. And we looked at one another and we were like, this is insane that we are building a contract in the ladies' room. Do you think we could be a little more civilized and maybe get together a little bit more frequently to be strategic about doing business together? So I said, I'm going to put lunch on the calendar for us. And I said, I've met a number of other really interesting, smart women. I'm going to invite them too. So a few of us went to lunch, and we really enjoyed ourselves. And we were talking about what it was like to work in a co-working space. And each one of our businesses was very different, but there was a lot of camaraderie and lots of challenges. And some of the challenges were specific to being a woman in business. But we enjoyed it so much. I said, hey, do you ladies want to do this again? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, there are a couple of other women in the community I want to invite. And I did. And so these monthly luncheons continued for about 4 months until we did a really big one at the home of Scott Jones. And Scott Jones is the founder of Cha-Cha, the 1150 Coding Academy, and he helped to scale voicemail. So, and I think he's well known in Indiana because his home was on MTV Cribs several years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so he's done well. But that was really cool. He and I met at a networking event. We had been tweeting to one another, and then we met in person, went to lunch, and I shared with him some of my observations and that I was getting this group of women together. And he said, well, I'm launching the 1150 Academy. I'd be happy to have you come over to my big cool mansion and invite some of those ladies over for lunch. And I said, well, can I invite a few more than just the regular crowd? And he's like, yeah. So we had 70 women and men come over to Scott's house for lunch, and he was awesome. I mean, he stayed the whole time and was answering all kinds of questions. And all of a sudden, this group of women that got together for lunch, it was a bigger group at Scott's house, and people were kind of like, what's going on here? Like, what is this group doing? So it was cool that we were building momentum and we were creating a safe space to talk about some of the challenges that we faced, especially about rising through the ranks of business and, in some cases, owning a business and starting up a business. However, to me, I wasn't doing what I needed. And I was observing that there were several other women that were facing the same challenges I had faced in trying to start up a company before. And I thought, we can do better. We can do something different. We can do something that is going to empower, educate, and connect women to resources more quickly. And so in July 2015, we launched a program called Startup Study Hall. And the idea was to meet every other Wednesday to provide consistency, structure, and accountability. So it would move your idea from concept to market more quickly. So I mentioned that I was a fundraiser for 20 years. I had met a lot of corporate executives and business owners. So I just started asking them if they would join us for about an hour and a half. They could talk about their area of expertise. And then these women would have the opportunity to ask questions, and they could spend time taking what they learned and applying it to their own businesses. And then I also asked every one of these, we call them executive mentors. I asked these executive mentors to give everyone a homework assignment and to follow up with everybody in class. And I'll be darned if they didn't do that. And I'll also tell you, having done, we've done one every other week since last July. So we've done quite a few. Every person, every executive mentor that I have asked to speak has said yes. And we have a list of people that have offered to do this. And what's so cool is not only are they teaching, but in some cases they end up being advisors, and in some cases investing. And that's huge, because we all know that investment in women-owned, women-led businesses is not nearly what it is for the male-owned businesses. And yet, the return on investment of a woman-owned, woman-led business is significantly greater than that of a male-led company. So, to me, one of the best metrics of success are, one, that we're finding more women that have an interest in building a company. We're connecting them to resources, and that they're taking the risk and starting something up. So that's the history, and it brings us to today. Shelley and I spent the day visiting with Rose Holman, Indiana State University, and a couple of local companies in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is about 2 hours south of Indianapolis, talking to them about the movement that we've built, what Shelley is doing as the executive director at Launch Terre Haute, and how we are trying to create an ecosystem and resources and support for women that want to build something scalable. And Shelley, maybe you want to talk a little bit about lunch today and what we learned.
Yeah, we just really scheduled the day today, again, talking to some of the universities. We are unique in that we have 5 higher ed universities in this community, which the community is about 70,000. So it's a high concentration of what we call talent in this community. And we are looking to leverage this Startup Ladies model to really engage some of this young talent we have in this community to see what they're kind of noodling on, see what kind of ideas they have, and then identify if there are local mentors and resources, like Kristen was saying, that we can invest in them while they're potentially still in school, so that when they graduate, they're actually ready to hit the ground running and can kind of root and just continue their path for hopefully success. So we've been spending the day. Startup Ladies is a little newer to this community. We've been here since April, and we are laying the groundwork. And, you know, like any kind of startup initiative, you launch it, and then you go back and you touch base with people, and you see what the feedback is and where the pivot needs to be. And that's kind of what we're doing today. We're checking in with some of the, we had a kickoff in April, and there were 70, or no, not, that was yours. There was about 40 here in Terre Haute. But 40 still for a community of this size is pretty impressive. So we're following back up with those women to say, okay, now what's our next move? How do we bring more resources to you, and what do you need from us? And we're just looking to our future, if you will. And we're bringing in businesses as well, because again, there are some really talented people who are leading local businesses that we're kind of making that ask. Will you be a mentor? Will you be a speaker? Will you help connect us? Will you be an investor? We are just kind of making the direct ask and finding out who's interested in what and how you can bring it all together.
Guys, I mean, it's so early on in the show, and I'm already hugely inspired by both of the stories and how you went from literally from stage one to where you are right now. So I've got to say hats off to everybody involved, because it's a brilliant cause that you guys are working for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So what we're going to do now is, guys, we're going to go into round one of the questions. So round one of the questions are about the hustle and what it took for you guys to get to where you are today. Are you ready for your first question?
We're ready.
Go. Okay, Brad, over to you.
Perfect. So, guys, I understand the pair of you are obviously, you're involved in other places as well. Like Kristen, you're in your Sticks and Leaves, vice president, and Shelley, I also understand from the website you're executive director of the Launch Terre Haute. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Launch Terre Haute, correct. And this was actually a startup as well. This did not exist a year ago. So our co-work space is also new to this area.
Perfect. Okay, so in that sense, guys, obviously you're both involved in that, but then we're bringing you back to the Startup Ladies. So can you take us back to that moment of pinpointing, the Startup Ladies and why you decided to really get involved with this alongside what you was already doing?
Oh, sure. So for me, I think without knowing it, the moment really was in 2012, and I had tried to build a social connection platform for platonic friendships. I had saved $50,000. I raised an additional $30,000. Did a lot of customer development, the type of research that Eric Ries talks about in the Lean Startup. Steve Blank is the person who's the professor at Stanford that really coined the concept, which is really just based on the scientific method. So had done quite a bit of customer development and ultimately realized that I did not have a business model that I was comfortable with because the market was oversaturated with social connection platforms. However, when I was going through the process, I had met hundreds of people, a combination of developers, designers, investors, all different types of coaches, people that were great at writing pro formas. So I was so excited about the types of people I met, the energy involved. I noticed that it was mostly men back in 2012. So for me, it was failing to launch that tech product that I was working on. So, oh my gosh, I would never call it a failure just because the experience of meeting all of these people and creating a whole new path for myself. I mean, it was, I wouldn't say that was the moment, that was the experience. And once I started working for Sticks and Leaves and got to the co-working space where it's like, where are the women? That was it. It was, why aren't there more? I'm surrounded by smart, really savvy, well-connected women, and yet there were so few building, again, scalable startups. And when I say scalable, I mean the kind, you have an idea, it requires investment, you build a team, you grow the product, you for product market fit, you iterate, and you continue to grow, which means you're probably going to need additional investment. So there were so few of these women doing that. I was like, we don't quite have the culture yet that is supporting women because so many women are highly educated. They've got families, they've got tons of community responsibilities, but they've not been trained to be an entrepreneur. And so while I think with the millennial generation, we have a huge opportunity because they're being taught these skills in school. The Generation X and the baby boomers, they weren't taught these things.
Nope.
And yet they're incredibly capable and smart and educated. So we need to surround them with the tools and resources so they can go build these companies.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think the vision there is just insane. So then, Shelley, what was your sort of motivation towards joining Kristen at the Startup Ladies?
Well, Kristen, again, works out of Launch Fishers, which is kind of a sister facility to Launch Terre Haute, and I just kept hearing what she was doing, and I was seeing what she was doing, and I wanted to be a part of it, for one. I do have some entrepreneurial experience in my background, but I wanted to bring that energy and that motivation and that support to my community, and Startup Ladies is definitely has the ability to be an economic driver. So that was really piqued my interest.
Definitely, I think that's 100% a more than valid driver as the reasons to why you got on board with that. So I'm gonna go into the next question, which is kind of based around the community side of things. You know, how important is it having a community around you whilst you're on your journey to become an entrepreneur?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, if you don't have people that have been there and done that, while simultaneously talking to people going through the same thing, I field phone calls at 10 and 11 o'clock at night with women that, they're kind of on the edge. They need to be talked down.
Yeah.
Because it's stressful and it can be isolating. And when you're doing something for the first time, it's really risky, not just for you, but maybe your family or your investors. My gosh, that is so scary. And this is something that I feel like women deal with the fear and anxiety more significantly than their male counterparts. And I will say, one thing that has been written about, Sheryl Sandberg talks about this, and Sheryl Sandberg is the COO of Facebook and wrote the book Lean In. She writes about how, from a very young age, boys play sports and they're enculturated to support one another and to play on teams and to keep going. And even if you get into something with one of the boys, you forget it, you keep moving on, but you support one another. Well, traditionally, girls have been raised really differently. And so we've got a little catching up to do as far as how we normalize what's good behavior and what's bad behavior. And by bad behavior, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of women, they gossip and they allow other people to gossip, and it brings you down. And so in this one way, I think, looking at how men interact and support one another, I think they figured out a better way to do it. So I think when you're really conscientious about the fact that you're not breaking people down, you're lifting them up, you're figuring out how to connect them and support them, and you're consistent about that, that's what you need to be just a successful human being. And you definitely need that to be a successful entrepreneur. But Shelley is an expert in creating community. I mean, that's what she does every day. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I think, again, having been an entrepreneur in the past, I had a clothing store and I was still working full time in my career at the time. But I think that I had something like a startup ladies community. I sat and thought my idea almost in circles, and had I had someone to throw it in to be kind of tossed around, and this is what I'm thinking about, and get that really immediate validation, or like, that's really not a good idea, I wouldn't, put your energy. But my wheels were kind of spinning for a year and a half because I was thinking in a vacuum. I was thinking alone. I really didn't have a community to bounce it off of. So I think the importance of being a part of the community is that community keeps your foot on the gas, and you have the responsibility to do that to your counterparts as well, because if you don't have somebody doing that and holding you accountable, you will stall out, you will talk yourself out of it, you will doubt yourself. So that community is there, again, I think as Kristen said, to give you that confidence. And sometimes the feedback that you get from that community might not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. And you need to either pivot or go a different direction, or maybe not go down the path at all. But everyone understands their role when you are in that community. So you need that surrounding you, so you are not off on an island, making decisions in the dark, which might take up a lot of time and resources to only, go to market or launch, and you hit a brick wall immediately when that's something you could have had some insight to had you been in the right place with the right people. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, having those types of people around you to kind of spur you on and really make you focused as to what your goal is, I think is 100% key to becoming successful and to really strive to be an entrepreneur. So I think
yeah, because I think like when there's a huge difference to being like I've even noticed it when for anyone that's listening, by the way, you don't have to physically go out and find somebody that lives right near you. I mean, our biggest circle of influence is online, and it's people all spread around the world, including the likes of you guys. So I think, for example, we could be in the community that we're in, and the inspiration that goes round, and the motivation, the drive, and the support that everyone gives to push each other is just incredible. And you actually feel, like you said, you're not self-doubting, because there's a lot of people that, like I've done a post earlier on Instagram, which was a diagram of the difference between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur, and the wantrepreneur was the person that thinks of an idea and then 1 month later is still thinking of an idea, and it's because it's because some people, they just don't know how to execute it. They don't know, lack of confidence, lack of information, lack of, they've got people putting them down all the time. And I think when you are around the right people, it makes such a difference to your mindset.
And it's also about like feeling part of a family and being part of people that understand you and really kind of want to get to know what you want to achieve in life, but then you also have to understand what they want to achieve in life. So I think, I think community is more of a technical term of it. I like the word family when being around people that, that you want to be around.
Right. And I think also they understand, you have a mutual understanding of those frustrations, and when you get really low and you're like, this is never going to work, I don't know what I'm doing. I think an entrepreneur in that family, that community, understands that, and it's kind of nice to have that commonality with someone, so that, if no one's ever done the process, they speak out of just not understanding. They give you, kind of lip service, if you will, when someone who's been there, they really truly understand the lows and the discouragement and know kind of how to relate to that. And that's comforting in itself, just that someone knows what you're going through.
Yeah.
And alternatively, when you have a win, you really have to celebrate that win. And you celebrate wins frequently, because, when you're an entrepreneur, lots of ups and downs. It's really a roller coaster ride.
It definitely is a roller coaster, I can say that much. So guys, one that I don't want to get off, but the next sort of question I really want to come back to, because there's going to be a lot of like-minded, success-driven, ambitious business ladies out there that are listening to this, and they might be thinking, this is an awesome idea, bringing people together. And I know all girls love to chit-chat, so to that advantage, you've got that advantage. Girls aren't afraid to just chat to each other, and before you know it, an hour's gone past. So it probably does that in your favour. But what sort of things did you have to consider doing to actually get this idea from pen to paper to actual physical thing? Could you talk us through the actual building process of the Startup Ladies?
Oh, sure. So it does not get more organic than the Startup Ladies. I mean, it started because, we had to pee, and then we washed our hands. And then while we washing our hands, we were chit-chatting. And honestly, it was building relationships, talking about how we could be supportive of one another, and understanding what the need was. And again, the need was just that we need more resources for women building scalable business. So again, we were like, it was really just, it was a lunch invitation for a year. And it was me sending out a calendar invitation, and the group kept growing. And then 6 months into it, that's when I was like, this is fine that we're going to lunch, and I like the community, but still it's not answering some of the questions that I had, which were, again, why are we not seeing more women building scalable businesses? So I'm fortunate, and so is Shelley, in that we've had career paths that have allowed us to build really strong networks of decision makers. And so I think what I decided to do was, I put a little board together of people that were really experienced and fun and smart when it came to building something. So Yao, Annie, and Anthony Smith, I work with them in Sticks and Leans. I help them grow that. And I was like, guys, you're some of my best friends, and I love them like little brothers. I was like, well, it was actually Yao that said to me, after we had lunch at Scott Jones's house with all 70 people, he's like, hey, what do you do next with this? I think you have something here. And, I was just going to set up another lunch, and a friend of mine who's sitting across from us was like, yeah. He's like, people are paying attention to this. I think you might have people that want more of this. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, I'll keep doing the lunches. But to me, it was, again, like, how are we providing resources and tools to grow companies? And I did not want to nickel and dime people. We needed to create something free. So all of our startup study halls, they're free. Anyone and everyone is included. And I'm very open about the fact I identify as being part of the LGBT community. And in the state of Indiana over the last year, we had some issues in regards to freedoms and discrimination against the LGBT community. And we wanted to make sure that everyone knew that the Startup Ladies was inclusive and a safe space. So I surrounded myself with people that were committed to entrepreneurship, elevating women, investing in women, and we're inclusive individuals, and we're fun. I can't stress the fun enough, because, like, if you're not having a good time, like, why do it? So,
Exactly.
Anyway, so it's a combination of, like, surround yourself with smart people. We kept having lunches, and then once we figured out the Startup Study Hall program, we tested it. So people kept coming back. They kept signing up for it. In fact, we have waiting lists for everything.
Wow.
So that was a good indicator to us that we were fulfilling a market need.
I can definitely see a movie coming out of this sometime soon.
Shelly used to be on the news. She'd be proud for it. She's got a TV face.
well, that's good, because both me and Brad have got faces for radio, so...
Yeah, we do.
Speak for yourself, jeez.
Cool, okay. So, taking it back to the questions now, guys. How much time did you guys invest in building the Startup Ladies? You know, was it... I know you mentioned it went from a once a week, but how much time was it that you guys put into this to really kind of make this your driver and make it as successful as what it is?
That's a good question. So the first year was a little easier because it was just a monthly meetup. So that was, I'd schedule it, invite people, call a restaurant. I always tried to find a woman-owned restaurant to support them. It was when we launched Startup Study Hall, and that's every other Wednesday evening. So it was monthly board meetings. It was finding time to connect with all the speakers, finding space, finding food, and then my intern and I, Jasmine Wong, who is an Indiana University student, who is just one of the most capable, smart, and incredible young women that I've ever met. She and I built a simple Wix website, which was purely a marketing website, purely to provide information. And then when we had to upload more information for 2016, we're like, this is ugly. We can do better. So we built another one over the holidays. And it's still a marketing site, but it takes time to do the combination of, and then do you guys have Eventbrite in the UK?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, it's a company called Eventbrite. It allows you to set up events on a platform.
Oh,
and you can
Eventbrite.
sell tickets.
No, yeah. We do. I don't know if it's in the UK though. I remember signing up to it before on emails, and I still get emails to this day. But I think it's an American website. I don't think, I don't know whether it's a UK based thing. But yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. Okay. So we use Eventbrite to get the word out about both our meetups and our Startup Study Halls. And then when Shelly reached out and was like, hey, we want to bring this down here, then that adds a whole layer of complexity. So Shelly, do you want to talk about the kind of time? So I spend a lot of time. I have a full-time job, but I spend a lot of evenings and weekends focused on this.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and the time investment for the Terre Haute chapter is we also we stream the Startup Study Halls from Indianapolis, so we'll stream them into our location. So we're doing the every other Wednesday, and then as we said today, we're reaching back around to the ladies that had expressed interest initially, and we are now going to add a meetup, a monthly meetup as well. So we will have 3 events a month going forward.
Perfect.
So, and then, as Kristen said, the time comes in also into scheduling speakers and getting invitations out and keeping communications going. So newsletters, that adds, definitely hours to the commitment, for sure.
Perfect. No, yeah, that's really impressive. So I'm just on your website now, actually, and I'm just looking through. So there's going to be one thing in particular. I mean, you mentioned earlier, guys, how many events have you run now? Was it 50? Did you say?
50, yes.
That's impressive. So I'm just looking now. One thing that I know a lot of people will probably want to know, because they'll look at this and they'll think, how have you gone through the motions of getting it to where it is? So when you bring these mentors to the events, what does it take? Because there's a lot of people that obviously lacking confidence in actually connecting with these people, like how to approach them, whether it's emailing, cold emailing, or whatever it is. Could you talk us through maybe one of your approaches to actually bringing these mentors to the Startup Ladies?
That, again, I feel like Shelley and I are really fortunate because we built pretty strong networks in our career path. So for me, it's reaching out to, I think the next meetup we have, the next startup study hall we have is with Shelley Towns, who's an executive vice president. She's one of the top 5 executives at a company called Angie's List. And Angie's List is now a national company in the United States, and the platform allows you to go on and, let's say you need a new roof, you can go on and find a contractor and take a look at the reviews that other people have made about them. So, when you have built relationships with executives like Shelley, who's like, I'm totally excited about what you're doing. She's actually hosting us at Angie's List. That's really exciting to me. And then, we've got 2 weeks later, then we've got Susan Marshall, who just launched Torchlight in the last year, and she's the CEO. And then last night, I don't know if you guys know Dan McCoskey. If you go to danmccoskey.com, Dan is freaking awesome. I started tweeting with him because I liked his glasses, and we're going back and forth. And Dan helped to design the Microsoft Surface tablet.
Oh, that is a sleek tablet.
Yeah, and he went to Google and he led Project Aura. And so coincidentally, just this week, he and his partner launched a new product called Peak. And Peak is this, it looks like an interactive table lamp that is interacting with you to help you modify a behavior. And so whether the behavior is I want a closer relationship with my kids or my spouse or my partner, or I need to lose weight, or I need to stop smoking, whatever that is, this thing's interacting with you. So anyway, Dan was just awesome. So we've been tweeting back and forth, and I was like, hey, this is what we're doing with the Startup Ladies. And he was like, yeah, I want to support that. So Dan's in Palo Alto, which is outside of Silicon Valley, and he's on a Google Hangout talking to us in both Indianapolis and in Terre Haute. And he was like, yeah, reach out to me. He's like, he gave us homework. He'll follow up with everybody. And he told everybody they could reach out to him. I mean, it was awesome. So I think what it is you get a couple of people that know some people, and the mission is kind of awesome. You're creating an ecosystem and a support system for women to build scalable businesses. And you guys know this, it's not an overnight thing. That takes years. So it's good for everybody. I mean, who knows? You may take an interest in a company and get involved and maybe become an advisor and maybe end up working for the company. Maybe you invest in the company. Maybe you open doors for that company to connect with other investors. I mean, there are so many different variables as far as how an individual could help grow a company. It's awesome. So it's been easy to get people to serve as executive mentors because it's great for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I guess it's not what you know, it's who you know that really is going to help you move your goal forward at the end of the day.
True.
Cool.
I think it's also about putting that good karma out. If you do it for someone else, someone's going to come around and do it for you. So, yeah, pay it forward.
Definitely. Now, guys, a question that actually we can resonate with a lot with the Startup Ladies being a very sort of value content and information-based business. Having sponsors is obviously important and helps, a lot. And obviously it's something that we will be looking at and currently are looking at, to help with our business too. I can see you guys have had a number of sponsors here. Could you tell us maybe how you go about, do you approach these sponsors? Do they come to you? How do you talk us through the sort of, your sort of method to bringing sponsors to the table?
That's a great question. And Shelley and I have both had quite a bit of experience talking with people about raising money for all kinds of different things. So in this particular case, the Startup Ladies, we just filed our LLC in the U.S., the Limited Liability Corporation. And so we are a for-profit entity. However, we host a lot of free events for the purposes of eliminating barriers to entry for women. So we thought it would be a good idea to go out and generate sponsorships to cover costs versus finding investors that would take equity. And having been a fundraiser, I had done a lot of corporate sponsorship work, and I thought, I like this small group of people that is leading this. Instead of taking on equity partners, I'd rather find people that have marketing and advertising budgets, but they want to be civically engaged, and so they want to do some cause marketing. So they'll take those dollars that maybe ordinarily they would invest in a marketing or advertising budget or campaign, and instead they would take some of those dollars and make an investment in the Startup Ladies. So that would allow us to purchase food and provide some opportunities for the women that attend. And the title sponsor from the very beginning has been Sticks and Leaves. So they have been by far the most exemplary partner, and it's just a company committed to growing a diverse group of entrepreneurs. And Shelley and I are finally in a place where, in order to scale, you need more investment. And we're looking at building a technology platform for the Startup Ladies that will answer the question, what do I do next? And so we are in the process of talking to several companies about making significant sponsorships to our endeavor. And as you guys know, it takes lots and lots of pitching. And even though someone may say, hey, this sounds awesome, I really want to do it, doesn't necessarily mean that the dollars are committed. So you have to keep asking and keep asking and keep asking. And that's probably one of the greatest lessons that, I had no idea that 20 years of asking for money as a nonprofit fundraiser would serve me so well on the for-profit side, because I keep doing the same thing.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's a perfect bit of advice, not only for us but for our listeners as well, because as a podcast that really wants to help the growing community of struggling startups and aspiring entrepreneurs, at the beginning stages, when we tell people about what we're trying to achieve, they say to us, how are you going to make any money out of that? And the only thing we can say back to that is, well, it's not about the money for us at the minute. It's more about getting our name out there and our brand. But, there's so many other people out there at this that are in this stage where they want to start their own business. They want to gain traction within starting their own business, and they don't necessarily want to go to the bank. They don't necessarily want to sort of get investment from the likes of crowdfunding and things like that. And sponsorship is still an option for people. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think, just to dovetail on that, I think just like when you are pitching investors, the sponsorship is the same. A lot of times the sponsors are investing in you and how well you tell your story and how passionate you are about it. And it's kind of the same, being as truly authentic as you can about what you're trying to do is sometimes much more persuasive than doing a big sales pitch, if you will.
Definitely.
And if you can do both, even better.
Yeah. You have an app, but it's authentic, and, they look to see if you're going to follow through and, kind of what your track record is. And, it's so much the same as I think, sometimes when you're looking for investment they're looking at you. Yep.
Yeah. Well, they've got to get their returns, haven't they? They've got to get their return on investment. It's the same for podcasting. If sponsorship was to approach you, they want to see, what they're putting their money into. They want to see what returns they're going to get for it.
Yeah. And I think too, with sponsorship, the one thing that I could add is, when you're talking to sponsors, have a two-way conversation, and not just to ask, but how can you help the sponsor maybe, get some exposure, or do they support your cause, or, just ask the question, how can we help you as well? Because that's much more of a powerful relationship.
Yeah, 100%.
guys, the journey that you guys have been on and you're still currently going through has hugely inspired us, and you've provided some huge value to our listeners within the first round, and we cannot wait to kind of get into the second round of things. But before we do that, we're just going to jump into the rocket round. Now, for any of our listeners that don't know what the rocket round is, the rocket round is where we ask our guests 5 quick questions where they have to think on their feet. Okay, so your favourite social media platform and why?
Facebook, because I'm most familiar with it.
Okay, brilliant.
I think Twitter is mine. I'm in it every day, all day.
Perfect. And do you want to give you a sort of reasons why, guys? Why those platforms work for you best?
Again, I've been on Facebook longer, and learning all these social media platforms takes a lot of time. So I've just invested the most time in Facebook, and I'm the most comfortable there. And for what I have been doing, it reaches the audience that I need to talk to.
For me, I have a couple of feeds that I really like, and you can meet people instantaneously. And so, the story I told about Dan McCoskey, it's simply because I saw him in one of my feeds, and I was like, oh, I like his glasses. And then I started tweeting to him. We started a Twitter conversation, and it led to him being an executive mentor at a startup study hall. I mean, that was awesome. So I want to do more of that. And I love Twitter's so fast. You've got great visuals now, and I'm constantly learning things. So Twitter's my favorite.
Perfect. I hope we're one of those feeds.
What are your favorites?
My favourite one by far is Snapchat. I love Snapchat simply because, you can gain that personalised sort of feel with them. You don't make people feel like they have to watch you. They have to ask you whether you can be friends with them, and they generally have to be really interested in you to go through the effort of finding your username, Snapchatting your code, and then following you. And I just think it's brilliant. We've met some great people on Snapchat. So yeah. What about you, Ben?
I'm gonna be a rival now. So mine is Instagram, but the new Instagram snaps, because they're gonna take over. So
I think Zuckerberg has literally just shitted on Snapchat with that one, to be fair.
Okay, so we're a diverse group of social media users, it sounds like.
We are. The power of it, though, it's fantastic, though, isn't it, social media?
And we can't rule out Snapchat. I mean, I don't think they're going to go anywhere, to be honest. They're too powerful. No. That's my personal opinion, anyway. And I've only just got into Snapchat anyway myself. You've been doing it a long time.
And I love the fact that I can take a picture of Brad's face and put it on my face as well.
You've always wanted to be me anyway. Right, back to it anyways. Second question of the rocket round. What is your favourite entrepreneurial / startup book?
Lean Startup and E-Myth.
Lean Startup and...
E-Myth.
That's cool.
We'll research those and put those in the show notes.
Okay. Next question.
Wait, I didn't get to answer that. I think...
that was 2 for 1.
I just read a book called Traction, and it's about the 19 social media or channels that you're going to be using to acquire customers. So that's really good.
Is that from a guy named... Is it Rob? I can't think of his second name. Rob Rawway?
I can't remember his name. I just know that I really liked his book.
Yeah, the book's brilliant. Yeah, it's a great book. Okay, next question. Can you give us your favourite quote that inspires you on a day-to-day basis?
One from each of you.
Yeah, invention is the mother of all necessity.
Love it.
Mine is be the change you want to see.
Nice. Very good. I like that. We're going to feature those on our Instagram account.
Hey, guys, I just said that inversely. It's necessity is the mother of all invention.
Brilliant.
Perfect. We'll put that one in there. Favourite entrepreneurial idol?
Oh, that's a good question. Mine's Gary V.
Gary V.
Or Vaynerchuk, as you would say.
Oprah Winfrey.
Brilliant.
Like it.
Nice one.
And the lady route, keeping it short and sweet.
Okay, last question from us. Best piece of advice that you can give to a woman startup right now?
Oh, go visit thestartupladies.org and sign up for one of our events.
We set ourselves up for that one.
I think we did. That's best answer we could get, to be fair. Cool.
Shelly, what's yours?
Well, I would certainly ditto Kristen, and if I have to choose another, I'd say go bounce an idea off a girlfriend.
Yep.
Go trade hairspray with someone in the toilet.
Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. Thank you for thinking so quickly on your feet there, guys. Some great answers within the rocket round. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump into the second round of the questions. Now, for any of our new listeners, the second round of questions are about the tools and techniques that our guests are currently using on a day-to-day basis that make their lives easier when running a business. Brad, did you want to hit us off with the first question?
Yep, of course. You ready, guys? Right, so which online tools are helping you on a day-to-day basis to get your job done? So, focus on some productivity, maybe team efforts, whether it's a team tool that you use. Just talk us through some.
For me, it's Slack and HubSpot.
Mine is honestly like the notes pad on my phone because I have random thoughts all the time and it's just full of cryptic notes to myself.
Yeah, no, we're heavy users on the Notes app. We're actually using it right now to ask the questions to you guys. So yeah, no, it's a great app. Brilliant. Next question then. You obviously in the rocket round we spoke about social media, but how does it really help your business? Which one really does help grow the startup ladies?
Ooh, for startup ladies, it's a combination of Twitter and Facebook. And we've used Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter has been organic for us, but I think we have a lot of word of mouth referrals. So I'd say those two platforms and word of mouth.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Another question we'd actually like to ask. This is quite a touched on question within the show because we've got a sort of mixture of people here. Ones that are really bootstrapping their way to success, but there's also the others that are, thinking of going into the investment kind of side of things and getting some startup capital. So for a lot of our listeners that are tuned in and maybe thinking of going down a similar route as you guys with the whole startup ladies kind of theme in their own unique way, is it something that they can bootstrap and use the sort of values like what you said, where you was doing free meetings, but then again, you got to sort of find ways to, I suppose, host the events. Could you talk us through if this is really something that people that are bootstrapping can get into? Maybe talk some techniques as well that they could use for that.
Sure. Probably the best technique is to learn to live off of less and save some money. So you have a couple dollars in your pocket to go do a couple of things. So in the United States, you've got to file with the state that you're going to have a business. That'll cost $100. The first website we built was on a platform called Wix. And so I pay maybe $15 to $20 a month to be able to do something like that. Learning about where pitch competitions are, especially smaller local pitch competitions, and if you can win a couple of dollars or a couple of pounds, all of those things will help you maybe with some Facebook ads or Twitter ads, or maybe you need to build a prototype. But yeah, I think that combination of learning to live off of less, saving, and then looking for free tools and resources, plugging into your community and identifying where those resources exist, and then building relationships with people that can help you find those resources.
Okay, then. So what kind of tools and techniques were you guys using in terms of advertising, marketing, PR? What has been most leveraged for you guys? Or is it literally has it literally been kind of, from what I can gather, it's been a lot of word of mouth and offline marketing as such. But have you guys, I've noticed on your website that you guys have featured on TV shows and news right. panels and things like that. So, what kind of techniques are there out there that people can use to really get their businesses out there that has helped you?
Yeah, that's a really good observation. So for a lot of companies, it's building an Excel spreadsheet with a list of potential customers and then emailing them and figuring out some type of schedule, or whether it's just an email or a newsletter. And then also, by accident, really, we got good at sharing our story in the media. we had a guy by the name of Jacob Spock, who I will always be grateful to, work for the state of Indiana. And he said, hey, Kristen, you may want to talk to Gary Dick. It's Indiana Entrepreneurship Week. You may want to be on his show. And Gary Dick does an awesome job of telling the stories of entrepreneurs throughout the state of Indiana. So I got to be on the show, and I was so nervous. I'm nervous every time I go on there because I really look up to him. And you want to do a good job, and you want to say the right thing. And so Gary was so gracious, and Shelley and I have actually been on his show together. And we've been fortunate in that we've learned how to write press releases, and we've shared them with a few outlets, and they've covered our stories. And I think it's because we've got a really great mission. So I think a lot of people want to share the mission and give people the opportunity to get involved.
Yeah, I definitely think leverage the media because it's a mass way to get your message out at pretty much no charge. It's a free medium.
Yeah, Shelley was in the media before too, so Shelley can just call TV stations and newspapers, and they show up for her. So it's nice. It's nice to have someone in your orbit with those types of relationships. But I think even if you're starting out, just push notifying, and find one of the reporters and just do what maybe is called a desk side too. Just share what you're working on because, if they have space to fill or it's a slow news day, or if there's maybe some kind of, like Kristen said, an entrepreneurship week going on or something that's related to what you're doing, you're a great story that they can come and cover. And again, that kind of press has high value. It's that unpaid media.
Yeah, it's evergreen marketing, media. Really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, if any of the listeners now, if you're to head over to the startupladies.org and go to the media page, you can get an insight on some of these media interviews that these guys have been on, including like the Jerry Dick show. And I would instantly look at that from an outside view and say, these guys know what they're doing. They've got some serious structure here. And I think it couldn't come at a better time now of the whole, nowadays feminists is a big thing. A lot of ladies are a lot more success driven now. And wanting to, be successful off their own backs. And I think that's a good thing to influence. And things like this, I mean, getting on the shows like this is going to be perfect, isn't it? Because it's the best way of really getting yourself out there.
It's so awesome to have men like you that are feminists. The definition of feminism is that you are an advocate for social, political, economic, and legal equality with men for women. And when you have men alongside of you that want equality for women, wow, you can do great things together. And you both benefit. So I think it's awesome that you guys are doing this and supporting women and giving them a platform to tell their story so that they can continue to grow. So thank you.
Yeah. No, we are 100% behind what you guys are working towards. We're not living in the 1950s anymore. We need to bring everything back up to date, and what you guys are doing is definitely working towards that goal. So yeah, no, and hats off to you guys.
It means more guys like us can stay at home. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm only kidding. The biggest thing I've probably learned from this show is that being a connector is probably the most powerful tool going into this sort of industry, isn't it? I mean, the Startup Ladies has really used a kind of unique combination of the whole mentorship investment opportunities, but using the connections to really leverage the platform and turn it into what it is today, and putting 1,000 bums on seats and creating 50 events. I mean, it says it all, doesn't it?
Totally true.
Be connective.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to go into the last question now. So if somebody wants to start out within this targeted niche, what should they be doing to launch from stage one to success? Is it a case of just stick at it every day, or is it a case of going out there and making connections? What is the best advice that you can give to a startup right now?
Well, connections are always invaluable, and you never know how they can be beneficial to you or to the other person that you built the relationship with. So I think that it's important for women to know that both your presence and your absence is being noticed. So keep attending networking events, even though they may be uncomfortable. Keep following up with people, even if you're doubtful that the deal will close or that they're interested in you. And above all, be a light, elevate the other person, don't break them down. And I think if you do that, to Shelley's earlier point, it will all come back to you in the most positive way.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly echo what Kristen said, but I think the other thing, and again, speaking from experience, just do. I mean, you can think it to death, and you can think of everything that can go wrong, and, just evaluate, become, paralysis by analysis is kind of what happened to me. So I would say just do something every day. It can be insignificant, what you might not think is anything big, or it could be a bigger step, but you have to just constantly do to move the ball forward.
Yeah, so do one thing. Yeah. When you're nervous about it, go do one thing. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, guys, thanks so much for the value you've provided in the show.
I'm so inspired right now.
Yeah, it's heavily inspired us. I mean, because there's a lot of things, as I said, there's a lot of things we can relate to. Next steps for us is to, start. We're going to be creating our own meetup group as well, and it'd be good for us to bring mentors in that can help teach. It's just a starting platform for us at the Stage One Startup here. So you've inspired us and helped us a lot as well, and I hope there's many listeners out there that can take some serious, confidence from this, believe in yourself, and do what these guys are doing. They're changing the game.
So then, ladies, tell us where our listeners can find you and their best ways in contacting you.
thestartupladies.org, and on Twitter, I am a startup lady.
Brilliant. Okie dokie, no worries. We shall put them in the show notes for our listeners to head on over to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
It's been absolutely fantastic. As Brad said, I just want to second what he said. It's been hugely inspiring and very motivational. And, there's so much that everybody can take away from what you guys have said. What you guys are doing is definitely working towards the better cause and bringing everybody together, men and women. So hats off to the pair of you.
And hopefully we can attend one of these meetups soon enough.
Yeah, we'll have to fly out.
I'd love to have you. We would love that.
Just got to find out where Indianapolis is first.
Yeah. That's perfect. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So then, guys, what an amazing episode it has been. We hope you've taken away some super tips and advice from today's episode and from our special guests. And don't forget, you can replay this show or check out any of the show notes by visiting our website at www.stageonestartup.com/podcast. But before we leave you, we'd just like to put the icing on the cake. We always like to finish the show with our current and most special announcement, the S1S contest. Anybody can enter. All you need to do is follow the rules of the game, which Brad is about to tell you. But first, here's what to expect to win from the contest. You will win 1 year's free subscription to LivePlan, 5 free entrepreneurial books chosen by myself and Brad. You will also win a personalised S1S t-shirt with the winner's name on it. Could it be any better? Now, Brad, if you could just tell our listeners what they have to do to be in with a chance to win.
Always a pleasure, Greg. So, guys, all you need to do to enter the contest and have your chance of winning these amazing startup gifts are: number 1, subscribe to the podcast. Number 2, leave a tasty review for us. And number 3, give us a big fat 5-star rating. Once you've done that, take a super selfie of you holding a note that says done, #GiveMeS1S. You can post this on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook, but make sure you tag us in the picture as well as put in the hashtag into the description, as we will be doing the search for entries by using the hashtag. Visit our website on the stageonestartup.com/podcast page to see the end of contest date and when we will be revealing the winner. We'll also be giving our winner a shout out on the podcast to congratulate them.
So then, guys, it is literally that simple. You've got to be in the game to win the game. Thanks so much for listening to today's show. We really do appreciate everybody who has tuned in to take tips and advice from today's guests. We will continue to make it our priority to provide you with the best of the best so that you can go from launching your business from stage 1 to success. Goodbye for now, guys, and we shall see you in the next episode.
Houston, we're back.
Thank you for listening to the Stage One Startup Podcast. If you're looking to launch your own business idea, visit stageonestartup.com for recommended resources and step-by-step guidance to help you succeed. Prepare for takeoff.